Anyway, though, yeah, we're going to jump into some Oculus news first, though, because they did some interesting stuff. Now, you looked into this more than me.
Yes,
I'm
did.
excited for it, but, I mean, I've never been a huge fan of VR. You know, I've talked about that. I want to be. Maybe this will do it. Let's talk about it, because I'm actually interested in this.
Yeah. So we've got a few different product announcements. Ultimately, the most important one is the Oculus Quest. So this is...
Do they give you a Quest to get it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, yes, the Quest is give them money.
Oh,
specifically $400.
That's a pretty good quest.
Yeah.
Instead of go pick up the eggplants, you have to give them money. That's you know, I'd prefer that than the quest to pick up eggplants.
That sounds like microtransactions. So essentially what Oculus announced was a new category for their headsets. So they currently have the Vive, which is their like highest end headset.
Did you say Vive?
Yes, I did. The Rift.
The Oculus Vive. I like that.
The Rift, which is their highest end headset. They have the Go, which is their cheap-ish, like $200 portable headset that's meant for basic games and like 360-degree experiences, things like that.
Yeah.
The Quest is also $400, just like the Rift.
Just like the Rift is $400 now?
Yes.
Oh, but just standalone, right? Is that with the
$400 with the controllers?
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, I didn't even know it'd come down to that.
That's why I bought one.
Maybe I should buy one of those on Black Friday too.
Yeah. So this is $400. It's a complete standalone headset. Okay. No PC, no sensors.
Okay.
You can literally throw it in your backpack, take it to a friend's house, set up, play.
In your back pocket?
Yeah, in your back pocket. You don't need to set up a room scale experience by like making a map around it can detect where walls are.
So what's gonna happen when it doesn't, and you just like walk into the counter, the knife drawer, and the knife drawer falls out and cuts your leg off?
That would be very odd because why are you playing in the kitchen?
Okay. So it wasn't the knife drawer; it was the knife rack.
Okay, back to this.
I'm sorry.
Because realistically, if you're playing VR, you should be aware of what's in the room that you're playing VR.
Before you put on the headset.
So what this does is it uses inside-out tracking, meaning rather than having sensors that track the headset and the controllers, there's cameras on the corners of the headset, and it tracks everything. So essentially, it's constantly making a map of where
it goes full cross-eyed, basically, and then looks around. No, I mean, like the sensors are on the outside pointing opposite directions, right? Are they on the actual edge, or are they, like, angular?
They're on the corners.
Okay. So there's 4?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that. So.
There's 4 cameras doing all of that tracking. They're also using something called, it's essentially just a marketing term called Oculus Insight, which is essentially a new positional tracking software that is for really large-scale rooms. So think like if you're playing in a warehouse, you could actually theoretically have games designed for that.
Right,
and
that makes sense.
It would be able to know where it's at in space based on everything it can see.
Instead of playing laser tag with a laser gun and seeing the other person, you could have the other people look like monsters.
Yeah, so this is actually like...
This is actually really cool. VR, if it works as good as they claim it works,
even if
awesome.
It works just pretty okay.
Yeah, even if it's just good enough for basic room stuff.
Yeah. Because one of the things that I've always wanted to see pretty much since VR started coming up again was a VR laser tag arena. And what I would want is something where, while you may have set walls or some easily changeable stuff for in-between matches, essentially you have just basic walls, and then you can use software to change the environment.
Right, exactly. And you know what would be a really funny thing to do is you could actually, people would have to not know, but you could put in fake barriers and stuff. And if they see them visually, chances are they're not going to touch them. That make sense? By that, I mean you could add in stuff, and assuming that they know ahead of time that essentially everything they're seeing wall-wise is real, none of them are going to run into the wall. Now, if they reach and feel it, they'll find out. Yeah. But I'm more so, I mean, I guess it could be... That could cause problems, potentially.
Especially if you were doing this as a business, you wouldn't want to risk like having a barrel that someone might lean on and fall over and injure themselves.
Okay,
the headset,
and that's true. But I more so meant not, like, objects that you would deal with in that sense, but smaller little things.
Yeah, and you could have like bushes, trees.
Exactly.
Well, not trees, but you could have bushes, things like that. Which,
yes. That's more so what I meant.
That's ultimately what I would want. Is like, literally, you just have like basic walls and pillars.
And everything else is done with the software,
So I think that would be really cool. This also does come with touch controllers. They're slightly redesigned to be able to be tracked more easily for this headset. But the full touch controller functionality comes along with these.
Makes sense.
Graphics,
are the controllers like very, very similar to the Rift controllers, or are they?
They're Rift controllers just with the sensor moved. Like the ring around it is moved. That's pretty much the only change that I saw. We don't have any word on battery life. My guess is at most an hour or two of playtime.
Yeah,
fine,
well, it's standalone, so it probably also depends on, what game.
Yeah.
You could have lower graphic settings and it might last longer.
I don't think that you should play VR for more than like 2 hours at a time.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
So 2 hours I'd be okay with. The graphics, from what we've heard from people at Oculus, is that they'll likely be on par with 360 and PS3 era.
Which is fine for something so cheap.
You have to think that you have, you don't need a PC for this.
Right, that's the thing, is like,
or a PS4.
The Rift might be the same price, but you need so for a decent Rift experience, you need a pretty good PC.
For minimum, you need a 970.
Right, so you need a pretty decent PC for minimum.
Yes.
For decent playback, you need a decently powerful, pretty powerful PC. And you need like God tier if you want the best experience on the Rift. And so there's a whole other cost that comes into play there, where your PC that you're investing into, just the box, needs to be like $1,500 to get the best experience.
The Rift is ultimately a $400 display device.
Right, with controllers bundled.
Yes. Whereas the Quest is essentially a $400 VR console.
Now the Rift doesn't come with any room scale sensors, or does it come with the two?
It comes with
left and right. Right, but you want a third ideally.
Yes, for larger room scale stuff with the Rift, you do want
now,
3.
if you're sitting down and playing, two is fine.
Yes.
Okay.
If you're sitting down and playing, you only need the second one for the touch controllers.
Okay, that makes sense.
So essentially the way that the Oculus Rift ships is you get the main box with the headset and the one sensor.
Because how I would use it would be sitting down.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'd want to buy one more sensor, realistically, or...
No, not for what you would use. So the way that it ships when you buy the bundle is it actually is just... They might have changed the packaging now, but when I got mine, it was literally you buy it for $400. It's 2 boxes. One is the Rift and the Rift headset, the Xbox controller, and the sensor. And then the other one is the touch controllers with a sensor. Because the touch controllers ship with a second sensor.
I see.
That's how you get the second
And so
one.
now they're bundled as the $400 though, because you used to be able to buy the touch controllers completely separate, right?
You still can for people that don't already own them.
But like they used to be an only separate thing, right? Okay. And wasn't the Rift like $400 with just the Xbox controller sensor?
It started at $600.
Wow. Okay. So it might be something I'll consider if I can get it for like $300.
Yeah. Oh, it goes on sale for that somewhat often.
Okay. I'll consider it.
But yeah, the Quest is essentially a console.
Which is fine.
Yeah. And what's cool about the Quest is if you look at what the most popular games are, I mean, like, you have like Skyrim, and that sold pretty well because it's Skyrim.
I mean, Skyrim's one of the ideal games for VR anyway.
But outside of Skyrim, like the most popular selling titles are not graphically intensive at all. No. I mean, you're looking at like Beat Saber is the big one right now.
It's the experience that matters.
Yeah.
Graphics come later, just as they have with PC and console gaming. And
if you're not trying to make realistic graphics, you can immerse people at low graphic settings very well.
Yeah,
and ultimately in VR, what matters most is not how good it looks; it's how well it immerses you.
Yeah, and the thing is too, right now at least, it's like VR. That's a pull away from real life, right? So.
For now.
It doesn't have to look pretty.
It'll eventually be
real life. But so now you essentially have these tiers where you have Oculus Go, which is for the normies to try and pull them into what is VR,
Or for people that are just looking for like a good 360 video experience.
Yeah, the only problem with that is it's low res and 360 video. Sorry, I thought you were saying virtual theater.
No.
Virtual theater, realistic. It's like for a good virtual theater experience, we need higher res than what we have right now, even in the new Vive. But I tried virtual theater with Samsung's Gear VR stuff, and I mean it wasn't horrible for VR. It really wasn't that horrible of an experience. But watching like movies and stuff, I was like, this isn't something I'd actually do.
I feel like actually what we need more than higher res is to get the fuck away from pen tile displays.
Okay, that would also help a lot because that would
the PlayStation VR the screen door effect is essentially non-existent compared to the higher resolution headsets, which you would think would have.
And I can attest to that. I can attest to that as well.
And then on top of that, text and stuff is so much more readable.
It is. Yeah, it's a pretty good experience.
I feel like for next-gen VR headsets, at this point, I kind of just expect they'll just up the resolution, keep it crappy pentile. But I really hope we get RGB.
That would help a lot. Yeah. That would be useful.
So, yeah, that about wraps up the Oculus Quest.
Now, there's a few more things from Oculus,
though. My second favorite thing that they talked about isn't even a VR headset. It's a very, 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 very expensive camera. We don't know how much, but for reference, this is a 3D 360 camera built by Red called the Manifold. It has 16 red helium 8K sensors.
So, here's the thing. How do you have a medium to record to? That is my concern. My concern isn't the cost. Mm-hmm. If you need something like this, you have the money.
Yeah.
But how do you record that? And in a sense where it can be stitched as a 360 video, right? Because there's no medium that can take 8K raw footage from 16 sensors. I'm sorry, they already use SATA SSDs for one sensor. Even the fastest PCIe NVMe SSDs, even as far as we know so far, the fastest 3D Crosspoint from Intel, although that's all controller limited now, so maybe 3D Crosspoint could do this in the future. But unless Red's had a huge breakthrough, no single medium is handling this. This has to be some kind of RAID system.
I almost wonder if they're essentially going to sell, like, you know how they have the Red, like, prepackaged SSDs?
The mags or whatever they call them, yeah.
If they're going to sell, like, a giant, like, cylinder SSD that's just a bunch of NVMe SSDs in RAID 0.
I mean, it could be. That would be the solution, right? Because you need to be getting something. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking somewhere in the realm of 20 gigabytes per second of recording. And so then the question is, how long can you record on this, right? Like, knowing the way Red likes to work, you'd want to have redundant cartridges so that you could swap one out when it's full and swap a new one in. So, I mean...
that's why you'd have a RAID 0 of 16 NVMe SSDs.
Like, all, 2 terabyte NVMe SSDs. Or something. There's something insane they'd have to do. And so my biggest question to this, being a storage nerd, is storage. Like, it's cool to have 360 video, but, hey, it's just really high-res 360 video. It'd be great for VR recording and stuff, but...
And then also, some of this is going to be... I think that they're going to use the higher resolution to just create better quality video for live streaming, like downsampling it. Because
yes.
We know that one of the other things that they talked about...
Live downsampling 50 gigabytes a second or something.
One of the big things that they talked about during this was VR, specifically 360-degree cameras, being used to live stream sports games in VR.
Yes, which would be really awesome.
Yeah, and so what if, NBA is the first, some of the first events are going to be NBA games. What if, at an NBA game, they had a few of these and they just did some good downsampling to get the best quality 4K for the bitrate they could?
I mean, yeah.
Something
the question
like
is, then do we have headsets that can handle that kind of stuff, right? VR headsets.
I mean, not 4K, but, they've got...
See, for a proper 360-degree video feed though, that's really high res like that, I mean, we're probably talking your video's taking up 100 megabits a second or something like that.
It depends.
I mean, they can do compression
on YouTube, yes,
because it's literally the whole thing. But I guess you could have it.
But if they build out a proprietary software, then they could essentially have it render a bit outside so that when you start turning it's instant, you don't have that gap, because that would ultimately
and then it loads out there, but you'd still need good bandwidth.
Oh yeah,
because so it might not be 100 megabits a second consistent, but you might need those bursts of 100 or 200 to load that as you move, so that is at you before you turn completely. And then latency would affect that too. Of course, you'd get a black screen. It'd be really hard to do it right. But it'd be doable. I like seeing VR being pushed forward. I don't really like seeing it being done by Facebook.
Well, the thing is that Valve and HTC are working on things they're just not ready to release.
Yeah, and knowing the way Valve works and has worked in the past is they attempt to release finished products and finished games and other stuff like that. It's the same reason Source 2 is technically a thing now, but it's it's still not really widely used. It's still got to be polished properly. And even though there's games that have been ported to it, they haven't really gone around like being like, whoa, look at our new engine.
Yeah.
Even though it could be some pretty big breakthroughs, we don't even really know yet. So it doesn't surprise me that is something they're not hyping up. They're not usually one to hype anything except Half-Life. So which that's because it'll never happen. So
and then so speaking of
YouTube,
they finally announced YouTube VR is coming to the Oculus Go, which makes it useful.
Yeah.
I would say at this point.
That right there adds a huge benefit to
I don't know
Oculus
what, unless you were playing the silly little VR games that you could play on a Samsung VR headset.
Yeah, at that
why
point
would you have bought
you were
that
better
before?
off buying a Samsung phone like 90% of people do, not literally, but you know what I mean? And then, just getting a Gear VR for $100.
Yeah. So. And then the other thing that they announced was Rift Core 2.0. Core is their like software that you install. The most significant thing is the new Oculus Home aspect. So it's now a much more customizable like home area, and you can have friends come over virtually in this home. And what's really cool...
Scary.
Yeah.
It's scary.
But what's really cool is that you can have... Similar to the Xbox 360 with Netflix a long time ago, back before they got rid of this feature, you can have a virtual theater of sorts, but it's not a theater, it's a living room.
Yeah.
But you can have friends just show up, and it's a shared TV, but it's not like just Netflix or just Hulu. It's literally live streaming a desktop, so you can have whatever you want. If you have a Plex or Envy server, if you want to watch, live streams of torrents with like Popcorn Time or whatever that was, you can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just whatever's on your desktop. If you don't want to watch some personal videos, you can do that too.
So anyway, so I wanted to mention Oculus has said that they're planning to keep this tiering system going forward, where they have Go for the cheap budget, super mobile.
Yeah.
They have Quest for the middle ground, more console-like, and they have Rift for the high end.
Yeah.
I'm excited for what a new Rift might bring, but I'll probably buy the old one to test out VR.
Realistically, the new Rift is probably just going to be
a huge resolution bump. Yeah.
I think it's going to be...
well, okay. Let's hope they go to RGB displays, though.
Yes.
If they do that, and then they have a resolution bump...
I would rather see 1600 with RGB than 4K without.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because as we've seen with the PlayStation VR, RGB makes more of a difference than higher res.
Yeah.
So...
And I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So...
So yeah, I think we're going to see higher resolution. I think we'll see the hardware necessary for the ability to use wireless adapters similar to the Vive.
Yeah, which would be really nice.
Especially since at least with the Vive adapter for wireless, it seems like it's actually good enough that it like doesn't make you sick.
Yeah.
Which is a huge deal for latency, so...
It is.
And they've gotten it able to work in massive rooms as well. So you can have the Oculus Quest-like experience of a large room, but with a high-end VR headset on a high-end gaming rig.
Okay, yeah, which
you
is
just
like
need
super
a lot
cool.
of sensors.
Yeah, that's fine.
So,
I mean, this is the high-end area,
and,
right? This is
and,
the person that's dumping $2,000 on their PC
And with the Vive,
first.
you don't need sensors plugging into USB ports, unlike the Rift, which is, I think, the biggest issue with the Rift sensors, and I hope that they change that, but I doubt they will.
Because the Rift sensors have to be plugged into USB ports. Whereas, how do the Vives communicate?
They send data to the headset communicates over USB. Much better design.
Okay, that actually makes a lot more sense then.
So they just need power.
Yeah. And of course, they also need a HDMI connection.
The headset does.
The headset does,
or
right.
the wireless adapter, depending
on yeah. But does the wireless adapter also connect one USB port?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That's actually something I was just thinking of concern-wise is I'd have to get some adapters to connect another display to my desktop.
Yeah.
And then I would need that third GPU because I'm getting another display as well. And NVIDIA, thank you for limiting me to 4 displays just by having multi-stream support on...
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, that about wraps up the...
VR arenas, you didn't mention that. Oh, no, you did mention that.
Oh,
Never mind.
No, I didn't mention the Star Wars. I forgot about that.
Oh.
There's a new Star Wars VR series. I think it's a game. They didn't really specify. But it's a 3-part series taking place in between Episode 3 and Rogue One, and it's focused on who else? Darth Vader, because who else do you talk about in that time period?
Well, aside from that, I mean, who else would you want to see in VR?
A lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Like, I'd be cool with a Yoda VR experience.
I'd be cool with a Yoda.
Although that would make you sick because Yoda flips.
You know, I'd love to just like punch Yoda in the face.
I mean, you get to as Darth Vader, maybe.
I like it. Play as Darth Vader, punch Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what do you scream? What are you supposed to scream when you punch Yoda?
I think that another really good one would
No.
be Darth Maul.
Darth Maul, yeah, definitely.
That
definitely.
one, though, you would need different controllers for. People have modified controllers to work for that.
Mm-hmm.
People have made some crazy stuff for VR controllers.
but you would need, definitely.
But
Okay. Well, VR, interesting stuff happening. We'll report back if more news comes out.
yeah, whenever Valve decides to
To do
release
something.
Knuckles.
Yeah.